This week for our segment on Meet the DP, we have Doug Chamberlain here, who's joining us. And Doug, just tell us quickly about yourself, just a paragraph or two, about kind of who you are, what you're most known for, if you're known at all.
Yeah,
and,
maybe not.
Oh, that hurt.
I'm a commercial DP, so okay. I shoot a lot of commercials, and that's where I make my living. But you know, I've also shot 8 or 9 feature films. Some of those have been a little bit smaller, a lot of romantic comedies, but I've gotten to work with some great talent on the feature side. But the commercials keep me really busy. But I've done all kinds of stuff though. I mean, when I started, I actually started in still photography.
Was that in your schooling or?
In my schooling, yeah. So it's like as I was coming up through school, I would shoot for like high school. I'd go all the way back to high school, and it's like high school yearbook and journalism, and in fact, that was one of my contacts. My high school journalism teacher is actually is a film director now, and and that's been like we did a short film right when I got out of AFI. But anyways, so I started with this like still background, and it wasn't until I finally ended up somewhere along in my career I decided I'm going to try jumping into cinematography. And because I had done so much black and white film, there was this guy who wanted to shoot 16 millimeter, but he wanted to shoot on real black and white, and he wanted somebody who had had that black and white experience. And so I was like the obvious choice for him, and I had never shot anything. And then I won some awards for the photography on that, and it kind of took off from there. That was like the impetus. But anyways, that is not what I'm known for.
Black
and white photography, shooting student films.
So before you go off that though, what was the hardest part of that transition? I mean, if you're a still background, you're now going to start doing motion. I mean, they hand the camera and say, you're the guy.
Because I totally lied about it, you know? So the transition was like, the difficult part was just getting away with it, and which I did. And I don't know how that happened. I know, because it's like this with, I'll oftentimes have young DPs like come and approach me, and they're like, okay, just help me out. How do I break into the film industry? And I have no idea how people do it. If I had to go back in time and do this all over again, I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. My big break was working for this guy named Aaron Rule, and we worked together in film school, and then he was in this. At the time, it was this tiny film called Napoleon Dynamite, and it took off, and it was really big. But he was an actor in that film. But I always knew him as a director, and so the acting part was an odd thing for me. But we had done some short films. We went on, we did a few more short films. Both of those short films got into Sundance that year. Wow. He got picked up to direct commercials, and then we started doing commercials. And then that took off. So I have to give a lot of credit to, the people that I had around me that were really creative and really interesting and really good. And then that started getting me more and more work. And then since then, because of that, I've been able to pile around more directors that I think are talented, that are good, but go in completely different directions. And so, how do you make that career work? I don't know. I think you just have to stay active is what you need to do. And it's like you have to keep shooting and saying yes and doing all these things. I think people want the career to start right away, but I think it always comes with doing a lot of freebies and doing and kind of like learning the craft and being flexible and being not only good at your job, but being somebody that people want to work with. And that's maybe the key.
That's huge. I mean, you don't want to be on set with someone who's not enjoyable to be around or work with.
Yeah.
Especially the DP-director relationship.
Yeah.
If you've got a DP that wants to be a director secretly and he's trying to overpower the director, it's just not going to work.
And you don't get fired in this industry. That doesn't happen in a traditional way. You don't know when you've screwed up and then you get fired. They just stop calling.
Yeah, the phone stops ringing.
Yeah, and so you don't get like real accurate feedback, I don't think, on it. But so you got to be pretty workable and pretty creative.
So what's your education? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, do you still shoot stills, or is it?
I do actually. I shoot actually quite a bit. Aaron is. I go back to Aaron Rule, but he's obviously. If you know his work, not only do we shoot and direct commercials, but he started doing still photography, and oftentimes some of those subjects were coming from the commercials that we were actually shooting, and he was aware enough and smart enough to say, you know, we're putting a lot of money into making this, building this set and doing this stuff, and then he would do stills inside of that work. And it was a very brilliant idea, because what it allowed him to do is take these stills that were very art directed and cast, and yet and they became like these little beautiful portraits that he was doing.
So he'd do that in addition to his commercial?
He would do that in addition to the commercial on set. Yeah. It was brilliant idea. And so we did a lot of that, and I was, you know, I would help him on that angle of it, because I was the DP on the commercial, and so I would act as, you know, helping him out on making sure that we got the set lit and the exposures were right for stills. And then we'd bring in strobes oftentimes. So I've gotten much better at working with strobes, but you know, on the topic of stills, is I still do them today, and sometimes I'll get jobs. It wasn't too long ago that we did this Radio Shack job, and they were going to hire out to do the stills for the end treatments on the for the logo and all the.
So was you were hired out to do a commercial?
Yeah, I did the commercial, and then I shot the stills for all the end treatment, and it ended up being like 35 stills or something like that. All product shots, all like little gadgets and things like that. And it was probably another one of those things. I had no business doing that, because I hadn't done a ton of product shots. So I hired a friend of mine who had done a lot of it to come in and help me out and assist me. And we set up like 3 tables, and we did the whole setup, and they turned out great. I was really happy with them, and I use those when I do get a job. But they want to make sure it's somebody who shot some product, and because you get that, and I'll throw those things out there, and it appeases them, and I get the job, and then we get moving. That's good. So yeah, but I still do stills. I still am very interested in it. I take a lot of pictures, and whether it's just, you know, stuff of the kids. I have this setup in my garage, and what I do. This is like, I don't have no. Is anybody interested?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is great. Yeah. I think most of the viewers have stuff set up in their garages.
Yes, they do.
And so when we moved into this house, I was like, I want to have a wall that I keep clean and pristine, and I'll paint it different colors, and and it's silly, but I love doing it. But we do pretty elaborate Christmas cards every year. We do at every birthday. Everybody who comes over, I get it all set up, and we run the kids through just like lightning. And in like 5 minutes, I'll have everybody shot, and it's very much like a focus on just speed and efficiency, and it's like a little bit like a photo booth, but it's.
But these are individual portraits of each person?
I'll do portraits all the time of people in the garage, and they're very, very fun, because I'm very what is it? I'm irreverent about the whole thing.
You're the guy who's going to be 100 and dies, and they go, we found this portrait photographer who's been shooting people in his garage his whole life.
Yeah. And I pull, like, you know, I'll just have like an idea, or I'll get a hankering, I'm like, I'll like try and recreate something, or I'll see some movie poster, and I'll go out and I'll try and, you know, I'll take the kids out there and try and shoot. And I mean, they end up kind of amazing, because I let them be very natural. Yeah. And like, if they've got paint on their face, or if they're just a mess, I love it.
That's cool.
You know,
but
we do it as a very refined photography on these kids that are just an absolute mess.
So do you own a camera then, a still camera?
I've got, I have a bunch of cameras, but the main camera that I shoot on is my 5D in terms of stills, if I'm doing that kind of thing. And I shoot, you know, I get paid to shoot also still photography, not as much, but as obviously the commercials, but I do get paid to do that. And then I'll oftentimes use my 5D. I do have a medium format, but I don't shoot on that much anymore. I have the recently acquired the A7S.
Yeah, I just got one too last week.
Lars just bought one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm buying one. Before we leave today. Everyone else has one.
But I like it, and I I like how light sensitive it is, and I'm gonna go out and play with that thing. I shot a little bit of video on it. I thought it's also could be like a good camera for mounting, like car mounts and stuff like that, because I'm not crazy about the GoPro mounts, but they're so light, and you can just like you can mount them up with
anywhere.
Like one. On car mounts, you can do like, one piece of speed rail and 2 suction cups or maybe 3 suction cups. They're like really simple, and it's like it's the rigging that is all the weight, and the camera doesn't weigh anything. Yeah. So I wanted to find a way to get like a little bit nicer quality than the GoPro and a lot more control. Awesome. And so the A7S was kind of purchased it for that, and then also this trip that we were traveling around the world that I just did, and we wanted to be really inconspicuous at times, and so we were shooting like Red Square, and we'd be shooting in Delhi, and for some reason India was really tough to bring gear into for some reason. I don't know. But
so what was the project? You're traveling around the world, dude. Can you
talk about it?
Can I talk about it? I don't know. It was for this internet company that's not in the U.S. and it's not in China, but it's everywhere else. And so it's one of these companies that maybe is going to take over the world. Maybe. We'll see. Depends on the commercial ends up.
How long was the commercial? Or how long was the shoot?
That shoot was 18 days, 16 days, something like that.
That's fantastic.
So, but we had a number of different cameras on that and things that we would shoot. But the A7S I purchased right before I went on that, and it worked great. It's got a little bit of jello to it, but the latitude, I was like blown away by. I thought it was really cool.
It's like 12 and a half stops.
And to be able to put that thing in very small situations, I thought it was a cool little camera.
Can I take you way back?
Sure.
When you said you're doing stills on set, you got continuous light, your DP, you use continuous light, and you started to use strobes.
Yeah.
Why?
For the stop, right? That's why you would use strobes. Either to stop action or for the f-stop. I mean, that's kind of what I think.
If you want a lot of depth of field, you can't get enough continuous light to get f8 and f16.
Yeah, no, that stuff becomes really difficult.
I'm just interested because the whole industry is trying to go the other way. They're all going, just use continuous light, strobes are. So it's interesting because the reality is there are advantages to strobes, and that's why you use them. It's just like any tool,
Well, and keep in mind that when I started using strobes, we were still, this was 12 years ago. So we were still shooting, we'd shoot on a Hasselblad, and we were shooting film, and we were like,
we wanted 50 or 100.
Yeah, and we wanted to shoot at a 5.6 or an 8. And so on set, when you're shooting film stocks, so like 400 speed film stocks, and you were shooting at like a 2, that didn't work for shooting still at an 8. So that's why we'd oftentimes have to bring it in. But when we could use continuous light, we did.
Yeah. Because now that you have the light sensitivity of an A7S.
Like that's changed a lot.
Yeah, it has.
Even the 5D. I mean, when I do stills, like my favorite way to do portraits actually is just in open shade. And I do a lot of that stuff. If I can avoid using strobes, I do. And just shoot open shade. I love it. It's like Richard Avedon sort of style, and all on white background.
Open and simple.
Yeah, it's really clean and simple. And then you just use negative a lot, which I don't know if still photographers do a ton of that, but I do so much of that in film because I'm so used to working at close to wide open and working with like available light because you have to move really quick. I'll oftentimes just bring in blacks, giant blacks, 12 bys, I'll shape the light that way rather than light it. Won't light it.
Subtract light.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're dealing with an ISO, the ability to, you can take what's there and then you got to try to shape it. That's cool. That's a cool concept.
So that's probably where I've gone in the lighting style. I mean, I think that's been a major change, even in the. Shooting on the Alexa, shooting on the F55, which I do a lot on the F55, which has a native 1250 ISO. I oftentimes shoot it at 850, but at 850 even, I was like, when you're shooting a day interior, you're no longer, you don't have that burning desire to pull out a couple of 18Ks and bounce them and make it nice and big and broad. You just like tweak the window shades a little bit and open it up and You know, you use a lot more just bouncy natural light. And,
Yeah.
You know, it's fun. It's very liberating.
So I was going to ask about the Alexa versus the F55. But,
Okay.
You guys will geek out on that.
Yeah,
Way
let's
too
geek
long.
out.
Let's
geek out.
I just bought an Alexa, and
You did?
I did. I'm absolutely in love with it, of course. But I want to know your reasoning for shooting F55 over Alexa, or vice versa. Let's hear it.
I shoot both of them, actually.
Okay.
I shoot both
I
of
thought
them.
you said you would never shoot the Alexa.
I did, but that was only because you said you bought one.
Right.
You know, I think they're both great. For what I've been doing with commercials, there was a season there, and some of this is changing. You know, it always ebbs and flows. But there was a season there where it was really hard to get a commercial to shoot raw, and like I would want to shoot the raw off the Alexa, and I couldn't get production companies to sign off on it. They would say, no, we don't need it. We're not going to use it. We just want to shoot the Apple ProRes. And so when the F55 came out, it was for the same price, and if the DIT was going to be there and he was going to be transcoding it anyways, I almost didn't even need to tell them that I was shooting the 4K RAW. And so it was a way of just jumping to that 4K and having that raw image to work with and color time on set. That was the impetus for it. That's why I started shooting on the F55. And it had its problems with the monitoring, and it had some like frame rate issues. Like if I wanted to shoot some off-frame stuff, I would probably jump back onto the Alexa or jump onto something else. But that progression has been for me that I shoot a lot of stuff on the F55, and the updates that they've done on the software have gotten so good that I look at both of them, and it's like for whatever I'm doing, like if I want to be a little bit lighter and handheld and yet still want to shoot on a raw image, I'll stay on the F55. But you know, if it's a little bit more locked off, and depending on the project and whether I need to go raw or not, I'll jump back to the Alexa. But I'm very comfortable on both of them.
So the image quality to you is on par.
Yeah, but I think that I like working with the raw image. I like having that color information, that a little bit more color information, and it seems to reach just a little bit better and a little smoother into the highlights.
Interesting.
For me.
Wow. That's what the Alexa, I think, is kind of known for.
It's amazing. Yeah. I know. I'm like splitting hairs on this stuff, but I jumped on the F55 because of the imager. But look, there's going to be another camera that comes out, I'm sure. I know that Panavision has rumors of another camera coming out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give them a try. It's like, I think you have to be familiar with each one of these cameras. Just like how previously you had to be familiar with all these film stocks. Like I wouldn't have said, you know, like, hey, I only shoot 52-77, that's my film stock. You know,
Right.
I would never do that. And yet there is, with cameras, there's this feeling that like, oh, you're an Alexa guy, or you're a Red guy, or I only shoot on the 5D, or whatever it is. Like, I think they're a little more akin to even though they all have this like great big range, and you're getting to the point where they all can cut with each other pretty well.
Yeah.
So some of it does become like a preference of what do you like to work with on set. And for me, the Alexa is kind of that premier, the most comfortable thing to sit next to and operate on set, for sure. But, you know, there's companies working real hard to beat that.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's
Every
fun.
day.
True, man.
I think we were, you know, with film, we had reached that point where it was about as good as film was ever going to get. And then with digital, we're still at this place where there's so much potential to get even better and for that growth to happen. So it's kind of like a cool, exciting time to be shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be changing. Talk about a project you love, something and why it was you loved it.
Project I loved. Oddly enough, there was this little film. It was tiny, and the budget was. It was the smallest film I'd ever worked on.
Okay. Feature film or short
Feature
film?
film.
Okay.
And we had just come off of, I don't know, it was like we'd just come off of film. This is a director that I've been working with, and she's really smart, classically trained as in theater directing, I think, and like, she's like really smart. knows story really well. Anyways, we had done a couple of films together, and we had this idea of like, let's do like a mumblecore style film, but let's set it in a beautiful location.
Yeah.
And let's just make it really simple, but let's care about the photography. Let's do a nice job on the photography, but let's steal all the locations and just do it as small as we could. So for about $150,000, we went to Italy and shot on this little island called Ischia. And we shot it really quick. I mean, we were only gone for about a month, and that included like landing, searching the island, trying to figure out where we're going to shoot this little thing. It was a really simple story of these 3 characters, and it was like a bit of a love triangle in this simple story. We kept it purposely simple. I got to shoot when I wanted to shoot, controlled the schedule to fit the natural light. I would get everybody up at like 5 in the morning. We'd be out shooting, and then at 9 o'clock, I'm like, guys, we're done. Yeah. Unless we can go inside somewhere, we're done.
Until 4 p.m., we're done.
Yeah, and then we'd pick it back up at like 4 o'clock, and then we'd shoot until the sun went down, and shoot a little bit at night. And so it was such a nice experience being able to really control the lighting by controlling the schedule.
Wow.
And the film turned out amazing, and it played everywhere. It got into Tribeca and did really well there. It played at Locarno. It played, I don't know, there's probably 5 other films.
What's the name of the film?
And While We Were Here.
While We Were Here.
Yeah, and it's got Kate Bosworth and Ido Goldsberg and Jamie Blackley, who's just in. He's so wonderful. He was just in If I Stay. Yeah. It was a great little experience, great little film, and I shot it on 5D. So this was some time ago. This was before the C300 came out. I think I would have shot it on the C300 otherwise, or I would have shot on the A7S. Yeah. Today. But it was the whole idea was, quick and dirty.
I'd love to see it.
It was fun.
Yeah,
it was a good little film.
Excellent.
So that's one, oddly enough. Like I'm quite proud of that film because what I was able to accomplish, I think, with no money. 1 China ball, the entire film.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
no
incredible.
other lights.
That's it.
What do you put in the China ball? Just doing like bulbs, light bulbs?
Well, I shot for black and white. Okay. So yeah, when we went over there, we went to IKEA, picked up a China ball, and then that was it.
Got some light bulbs, off we go.
Yeah, like a 100-watt bulb or like something like that. Just...
Maybe.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
So what's the most epic commercial you've done?
I don't know. Let's see.
Okay, what's an epic commercial you've done?
An epic commercial. Sometimes the
what's
epic
commercial you've done?
A commercial I've done. Sometimes the commercials that are great, that are really feel epic when you're doing them, don't come across as big and epic. Like we did these spots where we got to travel to Australia, and we shot and we were there for we shot for 2 weeks in Sydney or a week in Sydney. I can't remember what it was, but we were there for a while, and that felt epic. That felt wonderful and fun to be able to travel and do that.
What was the product?
Stuff. Some cereal bar or something like that, just some
Australia.
Some
if you're
commercial.
Not the director, the crew doesn't care.
No, I know.
You're not the director.
It was a Quaker Oats, but the production was amazing, and it was fun, and we got to do a lot of different things, and there was a lot of different spots that we were doing. You do stuff like that, and then you turn around and it's like I've done some car commercials that, where we've got helicopters and multiple cameras and lots of mounts and stuff like that. And it's just like the budget is just squeezed and unbelievably small, but we're shutting down, giant canyon roads, and we're flying helicopters down them and doing that kind of stuff. So sometimes the epic ones that look epic on screen were not so epic to shoot.
Yeah. So do you have a preference between commercial and feature film and music video?
I would definitely put the music video at the end of the table.
Okay, all right.
But I like doing them, but there are a lot of there's a lot of challenges with music videos, and I think that whole industry is now working in this I hear music videos all the time that they've got $5,000 to work with, and that's barely enough to rent a camera on those projects, and so then you're left with, okay, how do I do this without a crew, without a budget, without, and they're fun to jump into, but I don't know too many of those. I don't know too many directors who are that are in that and are calling me for those. But so majority of what I do is commercial work, and that's where I stay busy. But the features are creatively very satisfying.
There you go.
They're satisfying to me because I feel like that's what I was trained to do. Like coming up through film school and going to AFI, all the conversation was about narrative. Yeah. And so when I'm doing a narrative film, I feel like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be, and this is what I love to do. But there's a lot of satisfaction to be taken from commercials because there's always some sort of narrative. Like you're always telling stories, even in commercials. And if it's not a story, at least it's a progression that you're trying to build. And so there's a lot of creative satisfaction there too.
Do you have an agent?
I do.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on, for other cinematographers and photographers out there, is an agent a good thing to have? Is it worth it? How is it going to help your career, or how is it going to affect you at all as a cinematographer?
The funny thing about an agent is when you need one,
you can't get it.
No, when you need, yeah. when it really comes time, like when you really need one, they're going to start showing up. Because oftentimes what people try and do is they think that an agent is going to get them work.
Right.
They're really not. Not when you're young and you're
starting out, you're looking for work.
When you're looking for work yourself and nobody will hire you, somebody who is outside of your little world is not going to suddenly just like go, oh, I have tons of work for you that we don't know what to do with, you know? Yeah. That's just not a reality. And I know because I think I was there for a little while when I was first started out, and I had like 3 or 4 good commercials, and I probably had 5 other commercials that I should not have been showing. And I would walk into, I'd get some meetings with agents and walk in and show them to them, and inevitably what they would say is, those 3 spots are great, come back when you have a few more.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they need to have something to sell. And yes, they have a lot of contacts, and they can do that, but it's if you're a hard sell, you're a hard sell.
Yeah.
And so when you get to that point where you are working and people want to work with you, agents will come knocking at your door because they want a piece of that money.
Do you need them at that point?
If you're not working, you don't need an agent. Yeah. Most people don't unless they are making money. And if you start making money, I think that's when you need an agent.
But
why
that's
is
the
it
question.
If you're making money?
If you're getting all the phone calls, what's an agent going to do for you?
They're going to get you even more phone calls, and they're going to get you more money per phone call.
They're just going to make sure you're protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the agent, I mean, that's where the benefit of the agent comes in. Is like, if you're working as a cinematographer and you're making like $3,000 a day on a job, the agent's going to come in and push to get you up to the $3,500 mark, and then push to get you up to the $4,000 mark, because they're going to be pushing those rates.
Because they increase their price as well, and their job is primarily to be a manager.
Yeah,
and
it's
money.
also as the creative, you don't want to be the person like haggling with a producer over what you think you should be getting paid. You want to say, yes, I love the job. I love the idea. You're so brilliant. This is going to make my career. I so want to be a part of this. I love working with you guys. Oh no, anything
Here's
you
my
want,
agent.
anything you want. But please talk to my agent, because they're going to work out the money with you. You want to have that separate. You want to have that creative separated from the business side.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, I do feel like that anybody comes to me with a project, I'm going to be like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds awesome. Let's try it.
That's what creatives are. Yeah.
Because you're like some crazy monkey. You just like want to just grab anything and play with it. And so oftentimes that's how it is working as a creative, and that's how it should be. But you need to get paid. And so
and that's what
the agent's going to do for you.
So, answer the question you said is unanswerable.
Okay.
And that is, how do you get into this business?
I have no idea. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to get into this business.
It's interesting because even people who are in the business are trying to get in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everyone you ever talk to feels like they're not the person they're not where they want to be yet in the business. They're not as high up in the business they want to be. I guess maybe Steven Spielberg.
I guess if you're Steven Spielberg, that's fine.
He's in the business.
But I mean,
I don't know.
How many commercials have you shot?
I don't know.
Hundreds?
I do actually keep a pretty good database.
Yeah.
I know it's over 600.
That's a lot of commercials.
So you're doing okay.
Yeah, I've done fine.
So in my eyes, it's like you've made it.
Yeah, but
in your eyes, have you made it?
No, not at all. Because I feel like I have a job next week, and I have some stuff holding later in the month. But outside of that, I'm unemployed for the rest of my life.
Well, that's what being a freelance person is you're looking for work all the time. You're unemployed all the time.
And I honestly, you feel like, you start counting up the months of like, okay, how many months can I go without any work whatsoever before I just have to throw in the towel and just like move in to my mom's basement or something, with my family? Or, I don't know. I think most people feel that way.
Yeah.
I do have this still photographer friend who is trying to make the same transition, and transitioning from stills into video. And he's very accomplished. His name's Sean McKenzie, and he is one of the most talented photographers I've ever met. There's not an award out there that he hasn't won, not a magazine he hasn't been featured in. And 2 years ago, he won Print Campaign of the Year, Lucy Awards. And that guy he's embarrassed to say that he's a photographer. He's like, I don't know, I don't really feel like, am I really a photographer? It feels so weird saying that that's how I make my living as a photographer. And he's incredible, but he has those same feelings, and I think that's part of the creative process is like you're never satisfied with what with your work that you've done. You're always looking at it and feeling like it could be better, or like I wanted to do something else, or I want to do something different and new and fresh and exciting. And it's part of the drive of working in a creative field. I think in terms of, I don't know if this is what was this question? How do you make it?
No, not how you make it. It's how do you get into the industry?
I think you get into the industry by, I really don't know. It's impossible. I'll go back to that. That's my final answer. It's impossible. You can't do it. No, I
hope
think
that was inspiring. I hope we're all better people for watching this show.
Hopefully this has been very helpful to know that it's not
possible.
Well, it's
like there's a DP I met, and I cannot remember his name. He was working in a little photo store in Seattle. Guys came into town. Their DP got sick. Couldn't go out on a helicopter the next morning. They can go to the photo store. Come with us. Got to have this run this camera. And the guy's going, sure.
That's how you get in.
He started shooting stuff with these guys, and pretty soon he's a DP. And he's going, so if you ask me how to become a DP, go sit in a store in Seattle and wait for some guys to come roll it in.
Yeah. And look, you got to put yourself in a situation where clearly, being factual, you just need to put yourself in that situation where you have those opportunities and consistently putting yourself in there. And the only thing that you can do is really work on your skill level as a photographer and become better and better at telling a story. Because that's what we are doing, is you are working as a storyteller in the visual medium. So what are those visual tools that you have at your disposal to become a visual storyteller? And that's why still photography has been really good for me, because I do a lot of trying to capture the moments and what's the difference between a great photograph and one that is technically good but very uninteresting.
Doesn't move you.
I mean, there's a lot of technically very competent, very good photography that bores the crap out of me. And then there's photography that is awful and out of focus and poorly exposed, and yet it's compelling and interesting, and so what's the difference between those two? And oftentimes it does come down to subject matter and the story that's being told. And if you can tell a great story, it really the camera, the format, the technical side of it isn't as important as the story that you're telling. And I think that maybe is, if you're looking for a way to become a cinematographer, I think that the focus of figuring out how to tell stories visually and how to make compelling images, that's going to be the key. Because when you sit down with the director and they want some input and they want some help, trying to figure out what the visuals for this film are going to be, you need to approach it from a storytelling way. You need to help that director through the characters, through the script, and go back to the script and help them convert that script into compelling images. And that's the skill set that you're looking to build. The other side, and the part that I feel like is impossible, when I say it's impossible to get into the film industry, is who is that person that's going to hire you that first time and give you an opportunity, because it is such a collaborative work that you need to have great art department, you need to have great storytellers and great actors and great writing, and like all of it needs to come together and work in this sort of, you need some magic to kind of happen, and you know, where all those elements come together. Because as soon as like sometimes I feel like when I'm on a feature, you can have one department that is lacking, and everybody can rally together and lift that department up and carry that film, right? 2 departments is more challenging, but if everybody around them is really good, you can still make. You get into 3 departments on a feature film that are really need help, and
the whole thing starts to suffer.
Things start falling apart, and you start wondering if you can actually pull this thing off. And so there's so much of my job that is dependent on other people being really good at their job. And that's why I feel like it's so hard to control your own destiny through this career, because it is so collaborative. And so it's a matter of like, the people that you work with are very important. And so, and yet you kind of have to like, you have to work with them and like explore and look at their work, and it's like, you know, and put yourself in that situation where you can work with those people. And I've been very fortunate. You know, I go back to Aaron Rule, and he was so good at surrounding himself. As he started doing commercials, he started pulling in like this wardrobe stylist that's unbelievable named Shirley Karata, that is incredible, and he'd pull in production designers that were really talented, and it just made the work that much better. Yeah. So, you know, I think if you can do that, always be aware of how good the work is, and the work, if you make something great, people are going to recognize it and want you part of their team if you can do something great. So how do you make it? You do really great work, be in the right place at the right time.
Surround yourself with great people that are on the move as well. Yeah. Talk to us about go-to lights. When you go on set and you walk on, obviously you thought about it ahead of time. It's not like when you walk on, you go, well, I'm not sure what light to use.
Go-to lights.
What are some of the lighting things you like to work with, and that kind of shapes who you are and how you approach the project?
Okay, yeah. You put like a bigger definition on that, like shapes who I am. I think the lighting is always, for me, motivated out of just the location. Like I look at the location, and through conversations with a gaffer, we kind of like let the location kind of speak to us and tell us what it wants. You know, and that's usually my approach. Obviously, you have like the story elements of like, does this need to be day or night, or you know, what kind of mood this needs to be. Then you start considering those things. But the location really inherently has a say in what it wants to be.
Do you have a go-to favorite light?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Like 1200 watt HMI over a 4-bank Kino, or like, you know, is there like one light that you're just like, that looks so good, or is it just kind of whatever gets the job done?
I wish maybe I did. Okay, let me talk about lights that I do like, that I do use. Okay, I use Jolicos all the time. Interior day, I love Jolicos. I love how you can flag them and bounce them, and they're very punchy, and they occupy a small footprint for what they do.
For those that don't know, Jolicos are HMI bulbs inside of a Source 4 kind of a barrel.
Yeah, it's like a stage light. It's like they call them like sausage lights or whatever. Yeah. But it's like a stage light that they jam a Joker on the back. Those things are really punchy and really great and very controllable. They're not perfect for everything though, but obviously. But I like going to those. I love covered wagons, which are
I've never heard of this.
I don't know if I have either.
Oh, they're like you take like a batten strip. You take like a strip. You put like lights in it, just like globes, and then they do out of chicken wire, make it like a covered wagon and drape diffusion over the top of it. But gaffer that I work with makes these great ones, and
so you
we
make
use them
them
all the time.
yourself? Just a long
yeah,
line
you just
of
make them
bulbs
yourself, and
sounds like a DIY project.
Just kind of a tungsten look, or
yeah,
tungsten
and they're great. And you throw them on the ground, and it's like they're pretty controllable, and they look really good, and it's like it's a beautiful light. And it's sort of like, I think they were using them before Kino Flows that were really popular. Kino Flow has like that kind of particular look sometimes to me. I do like to drape my Kino flows in unbleached muzz, which really knocks them down, but I think it does a lot of good for them with them. I also use, I've been building these lights. Light Gear makes these light ribbon, you know? And I did a film that I had to shoot on an airplane. So I did this short film, and we shot on the Virgin flights from LA to Sydney, Sydney to LA, LA to London, London to LA, LA to Dallas, Dallas to LA. So it was these different flights, and I had to shoot in air, 35,000 feet, and shoot the whole short film. It was like a 30-minute short. And I couldn't bring anything on the plane that I couldn't carry with me. So, and of course the Virgin flights, they have that very particular purple and blue. And they're very, so I built up a couple of boxes, RGB boxes, and then some you know, tungsten to daylight boxes, and put them all in a container and put them all on batteries and stuff like that. But that really actually has changed a lot of how I approach lighting, because now those light ribbons have gotten better and better since I shot that. And so I still, to this day, I've got these 4 boxes that I've built that are, you know, dimmable, and I can change the color temperature. And we use those all the time, like interior cars, use it constantly. We've got these like little strips that we'll put above people.
So it's just a row of lights and a ribbon?
Yeah, it's just like a ribbon
like
of light.
Christmas lights almost?
Little LEDs.
Not like Christmas lights, but they're really
it's like,
tight.
they have adhesive on the other side, so you can stick them to things, and they're just kind of like these little.
But I've used those like in the airplane. I literally took a 16-foot roll of it and ran it down the middle of the airplane, and just put it on a battery, and like threw the battery up in the luggage compartment. And,
Nice.
And that stuff was, you know, I think that really is kind of changing the way we light, is being able to use those things, because for a number of reasons, but the main reason being they're so light. And so I did one spot that we were shooting in this hospital room, and there was kind of like, there was some new technology that was coming out with the LEDs, and I liked where they were, and I was like, let's just do this whole thing, all LEDs, we can. And we literally like Velcroed things to the ceiling. We had no we didn't have any like boom arms or anything like that holding lights. Everything was like Velcro to the ceiling, and there's like paper taped up. And you know, and then we had just like little light sticks behind everything, and it is everything, and it looked great. And we had plenty of stop for it. And when you're shooting it like 800 ISO or 1250 ISO, and then we have these like bars that we've built that are just as punchy as a Kino flow, but you can tape them up, and you don't have to put anything up there. So the guys have been doing this this lighting, and I used one just the other day. It was like a bedroom scene where there was a couple in bed, like sitting up reading, and I wanted to get a backlight on them, but the bed's like really close to the wall, and I was able to just slide that thing right in. It's about, you know, an inch thick, and it just slid right in. Like, whereas before, you'd really be struggling, and you'd be trying to figure out a way to do that, and it would maybe take some sort of rig.
A 4-bank back there would just be so hard.
Yeah, it'd be really difficult. So now we're able to build lights that really can be any shape we want them to be, and fit into any nook and cranny of the room. I mean, they can be like 1/8 of an inch thick is all I need for lighting. That changes the way you sort of approach a set. Whereas before, if it was like, well, I don't know, that Chimera is not going to fit back there. You don't need it anymore. And so that kind of stuff is changing the face of what we're doing. My gaffer is also very savvy on putting together wireless systems, and he wants everything to be dimmable on a wireless system, and he walks around with his little dimmer and like, you know, making things down that way, and he loves it. That's how he likes to operate and work. And
I feel like I just got a piece of character from your gaffer.
yeah,
coming out of you right now.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really talented. Yeah. Rob McCarthy is his name, and he's one of the best. But we like bringing in theatrical dimmer board operators and when we can, and it gives us a lot of control, and we put up a lot of lights, and then we massage them down and do different little things, and then as we move around, we move like very, very quickly. And that's been a fun way to work.
That's interesting. That's a whole new direction.
Yeah. So that's what productions oftentimes. That's where you're gonna make a difference with, you know, differentiate yourself from the other guys. Is we're gonna turn around and you're able to turn that thing around in just a few minutes and have it look great because you've thought ahead as to how you want to do it. I mean, the speed really and I think that maybe is the big difference between still photography and motion is you have to be so fast. And fast does not mean moving fast. It means thinking ahead. It means anticipating what you need to do. And so, there's a lot of technology that's helping out with that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's dimmer boards. I never would have thought to put it like a DMX controller.
Oh yeah.
So you're balancing these like LED strips with like the mole LED lights or the area LED lights, or is that kind of?
How many of the I haven't gotten into too many of like the
the actual
the PARs, like
yeah.
like the LED PARs. I imagine that stuff's coming and it's going to hit the set. But for me, it's like the gaffer still has old PARs on his truck, so why not use them? You know, and so he hasn't purchased that stuff out and spun it around. And it's like we're dragging a generator everywhere we go anyway, so it's no real effort. So it would be a matter of like maybe temperature in the room, or they're coming for sure, but. It hasn't been anything that I'm like anxious to switch all that stuff out to the new technology. It's more about what can I do with the new technology, and that's why I love what we're doing. Like, because we would literally build custom boxes and fit them in. I was shooting inside of a safe, and we had a lip that we could get up and under, and it had to be a certain depth and a certain size, and we knew what we needed to do, and I just had the guys over at Grip Electric just get all arts and craftsy and build something and put that in. Had a hole in the back, and we just like did a small little battery, and worked great.
That's excellent.
But it's that kind of stuff that what can I do with it that makes it nice, and I think that's where LEDs, for me, that's where it's found its niche. I'm sure it'll overtake the big lights at some point, but I don't think about that as much as I like what they do. And what they do well is be really small and really bright.
Well, the big lights are kind of, obviously there's always going to be a place for big lights, but they're just kind of on their way up because ISO. Every time you drop the ISO, every time you raise the ISO,
double it,
then you've just cut the lighting package in half.
Yeah. Well, but what I like to do is what I've always hated is when you don't have enough stop and you got to take that 18K and you got to push it through Opal to get the stop that you want.
So you have to change the quality of light in order to get the stuff you need. Yeah.
So that's what you're going to combat. It's like, I still want those 18Ks out there, but now I'm spinning around, I'm putting it into a 12 by 20 and bouncing it, and now I'm getting this much more beautiful light quality.
Yeah, but your A7S has a base ISO of like 2000. Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is, so you go from your 850, which is or 800 from your Alexa, and now you more than double it. Your lighting package, your 18K, becomes a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
So you just double your ISO. You cut the lighting package in half.
Yeah. The math seems to work, but when you're on set, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's the way we're used to working. It's the way we're used to.
Well, it's not just how you're used to working, but like what you don't realize is, the color temperatures. The mix of color temperatures is also a big deal when you're trying to control your lighting. And so sometimes, like somebody sent me a video not too long ago, and they were like, oh my gosh, no more lighting. And they sent me this video of, it was like some fight sequence, and it was all done like under crappy like sodium vapors, and then there was something else. And they were showing it to me like, see, you don't even need to light anymore. And it was like, yes, there was plenty of exposure there. But I just thought, I was looking at it, I was like, there's no artistry to what you're doing. It doesn't look good. If the set, if the city had come in and made a beaueful lighting setup for you, then yes, you could do that, and
it's like
you
lighting by
away.
exposure is what I call it.
But lighting by exposure, and it doesn't really work. So like even in the scenario of like say we are like in a day interior and there's like these big windows and you can just let that light come in. Sometimes you don't want that light to come in because there's this mix of like this bright green grass and the skip of the grass, and all of a sudden you end up with this like green kind of kicker on everybody, and you're like, where is that coming from? And it's like, there's things that you have to do if you want to eliminate that kind of stuff. And so there's times that it's proper to control it, and like as things change, you want to have consistency, and that's what you're always fighting with. You know, on the low budget stuff that is like single shot setup, and you take one shot and that's all you have to do that day, or that's all you have to do in that angle, then yeah, you can get away with murder, you can let it be whatever you want it to be. It's when you have to recreate that in multiple locations, or shoot one angle in one location and then 2 days later shoot the other angle in a different location, and it has to be consistent and controlled. It's when you have to be in a setup an entire day, and you have to do a Spanish version and an English version, and you know, it's all got to be consistent. That's where you get into this. I want to be in control of it, because when the sun goes down, you're looking like an idiot, and you're standing there going, "Well, we really can't shoot right now." And they're like, "No, we are shooting right now."
Right. There's no choice.
And so that's what those productions are paying for. Is they're paying to be able to say, we know it's middle of the day and it's not the perfect time to light this and shoot this, but you're going to do it right now anyways. And you need to be able to have those tools to do exactly that. I mean, we are in a business where you have to get the shot on the day. And it's interesting though, the film I shot in Italy was, we are waiting for the light. This is when I'm going to shoot it. And it's its own experience, but you have to be able to do all of it.
Well, thank you, Doug, for coming. We really appreciated having you on the show. And if you guys have any questions for Doug, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll make sure we get to him, bug him a little bit more. You don't have a busy schedule, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
You're not working very much, are you?
No.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's been excellent.